It's almost like they're inside the walls of this place. Generations of Mahoning Valley folks dancing to the music of their time. There are millions of old memories here, but none will ever again be added because the Idora Park Ballroom is gone. But the grand old lady went out with the splendor she was used to. And stay with us as we say goodbye to a piece of history and swing through the last dance at Idora. Hello, everybody. I'd like to invite you to a dance. But this is a dance you will never forget. Because if you're over 50 and have spent any time in the greater Youngstown area, this is a spot you will never forget. Idora Park, the scene undoubtedly of perhaps a few romances, a few broken hearts. And tonight, a bittersweet experience, the last dance at Idora. Come on in with me. It's May 24th at Idora Park Ballroom, a benefit dance for the Camel Police Benevolent Association. One of hundreds of benefits held here over the years and one of thousands of dances. But this one is the last one. There'll be no more.
I'm a sentimental guy anyhow, and it kind of breaks me up.
Closing down. It's a real sad night. It's dirty. It's too bad they're closing up. But maybe they'll open one up just like it. I hope so.
And we all knew this was the last. It's a shame, really, that, we couldn't continue at least to have this ball. Yeah. We're going to miss it.
There are over 1,000 people here tonight. Many of them came by bus from Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Canton. Like faraway relatives returning for a funeral, they heard about the last dance and just couldn't stay away.
Not from Monessa. You know where Monessa?
All turned out for a dance.
Fire.
Youngstowners have said goodbye to a lot of things lately. The steel industry died with agony, and we struggled on. The disastrous fire at the Idora Amusement Center in 1984 was the blow that eventually led to the death of the ballroom. And when the Midway at Idora shut down and the Wildcat fell silent, we were sad, but we moved on. What is it about this ballroom that brings out so much emotion? Maybe it's a reflection about times when life was simpler and expectations more modest.
57 years. I'm 70 years old now, and I've been dancing here from 13 years old.
What was it like in those early days?
Oh, in those early days, 3 cents a dance, 5 cents a dance, 10 cents a dance, balcony upstairs, tickets all around, and all around here, and had this place all remodeled, twirled all around, had a lot of fun, had big bands here. It's a beautiful place.
Probably had at least a couple of romances stem from this place.
Well, those were the days, my friend. How could we forget?
Here at the Arms Museum, a lot of the area's history is enshrined. You'll find exhibits on Youngstown as an iron and coal center, displays on how the wealthy lived at the turn of the century when steel was putting Youngstown on the map. And right beside them, the latest piece of history to put on the shelf and preserve, Idora Park and its grand ballroom. Talk about history. If you're 30, chances are your mother, your grandmother, and probably your great-grandmother all danced on the same floor of the ballroom. And save for a few modernizations, it looks pretty much the same from the early 1900s when it was known as the Dance Pavilion. Almost every city had at least one ballroom at the turn of the century. You know, without the benefit of cars and superhighways, you just didn't go more than a few miles out of town. Anything farther was more like an expedition. In fact, there are reasons to believe that Idora Park was built way out on Canfield Road, in part to help out the struggling Park and Fall Street Railway. Each summer, thousands of riders would board the cars downtown and make the long haul to Idora Park. It was all there, picnics, live theater and vaudeville, and a growing amusement park with an older version of that famous Idora roller coaster, the Wildcat. But most of all, it was the ballroom. Back then, dancing was more like an amusement ride. You paid every time you rounded the dance floor. 5 cents a dance or 10 cents a dance. The ballroom survived the great dance marathon of 1934 when endurance, not romance, was the object. It was the days of the elegant dance bands like James Dimmick and his $1 million Sunnybrook Orchestra. After breaking all kinds of records playing the Cinderella Roof Ballroom on Broadway, the Sunnybrook Orchestra made its way to Idora Park in 1926. Arthur Lang, the composer who wrote I Love My Baby and a pretty little ditty known as the Prisoner's Song, called Dimmick's band the equal of any dance organization ever to play Broadway.
You know, that was mighty high praise, but if you wanted some really highbrow music, you had to consider a guy by the name of Ace Brigode. Now, Ace was an Idora band regular back in the late 20s. And Ace, well, he had a fear. He feared that mechanical music like records or discs, even radio, would someday replace the live orchestra. And who knows, maybe he was right. Anyway, back in 1929, Ace was quoted in the Youngstown Vindicator, and he said, I believe that the mechanical music, or as we say, canned music, will never take the place of the orchestra on a dance floor. I believe the music will come back as stronger than ever as soon as the mechanical craze is ended. There is nothing sweeter than music that is soft and melodious. Mechanical stuff sounds tin-panny, he said, and it hasn't got the power to soothe the savage beast. Well, you talk about soothing the savage beast, Ace should have seen what happened to Idora about 10 years later. It was the heart of the big band era, and Idora was rockin'.
It's wartime. The period known as the Big Band era is in full swing, and we do mean swing. Inspired by the driving sound of the Glenn Miller Orchestra, a nation with a lot of problems falls in love with the sound of a bespectacled Army captain leading a band with a unique sound. He has the clarinet playing the lead sheet. A wartime Youngstown is working round the clock in the mills. A lot of its sons are overseas, and for the rest, the big band sound is the biggest.
Well, the big bands, really, the big bands and all the jitterbugging, and especially during the war, where we had all the servicemen dancing. There were dances here when some of the USOs would bring in the soldiers, and they would dance.
Woody Herman was here. Harry James was here.
Oh, yeah, they were all here.
And Guy Lombardo and Buddy Rich, Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Stan Kenton, they all played Idora. Even the legendary Glenn Miller was here himself.
You know, it's a funny thing. I came in here, I guess it was about 10 years ago. And in that back wall back there, there used to be every name band that come in here is autographed on the wall. I'm talking about Glenn Miller, Tommy Dorsey, Gene Krupa, you name it, it was on that wall. And I said, wow, what a thing to have set aside for posterity. And then I come in here one year, and I went in the back room there, and oh my God, somebody took a roller and painted over everything. And, you know, I just, you know, it's so hard to comprehend that people would do something like that, you know.
Jerry Brill has played Idora for more than 20 years. As leader of the Lee Kelton Orchestra, he's also playing The Last Dance.
This should be saved. It's just hard to comprehend that this won't be here anymore.
Sure, the ballroom was elegant. In 1938, it was restored with a famous revolving ball that cast geometric light patterns on the ceiling, mixed with multicolored light spots that added a rainbow effect. But when they talk about Idora, both dancers and musicians talk about the floor.
Because this floor is a suspended floor, and there's just no place like it.
When we come into here, it's always a high, because you have a fantastic floor. In fact, this is the best floor between New York and Chicago. And when this one's gone, my God, you don't replace it.
The new ballroom of 1938 was finished just in time to welcome a record 6,000 people to hear Glenn Gray and the Casaloma Orchestra. The ballroom never again saw a larger crowd. In fact, the 50s, with television, the baby boom, cars, and superhighways, it took people away from the park, and the big band era was ending.
Everybody says they love the big bands, they love this, they love that, but they don't support it enough, believe it or not. You have a die-hard bunch, like tonight here. There's a bunch here from Cleveland. There's a bunch that come up from the bus from Menneson down in Pittsburgh. There's your bunch right here in Youngstown. But, you know, it's a funny thing. How do you get the younger people to get into touch dancing? That's what it's all about. You got to get the 35s, the 45s started again. Because they were all into the rock thing. And once they marry, they don't dance, you know, and that's what it's all about.
And it just went downhill. It just all started to go and go and go. And we've had people come out here tonight to pay their dues to get in, and they still think it's like $5 or $6 to get in here, which means that these people have not been out here for maybe 20 years.
Big bands still tour, but only one, only the king of swing, Benny Goodman, is outliving the Idora Ballroom.
Some people lost a father, some people lost a mother. We lost Idora Park.
If there is one man who knows the ballroom better than any, it's John Zupko. John worked as a security guard at the old place for over 30 years. He worked his last dance on New Year's Eve.
Well, on New Year's Eve, everybody had a good time out here. Yeah, everybody let their hair down. It was beautiful. We had crowds anywhere from 800 to 2,000. And we handed out souvenirs, noisemakers, and whatnot. And then the last several years that they were in operation, they served a breakfast at 12 midnight. We'd go till 2 in the morning. People were beautiful. We'd have people come from out of town. As a matter of fact, we had one group come in, and we had 50 people come in for a number of years from Pittsburgh. They're from Don Duffy's Tavern. It was 5 cents a dance, 10 cents admission. A friend of mine, Felix Peckinpah, sold tickets, sat in a small booth. People would come in, pay 10 cents admission, buy 50 cents or $1 worth of tickets, and you had a top band playing. You'd get on the floor to dance. After you completed one circle, the band would stop. You clear the floor, then it start. You pass through the gates again, hand the attendant a ticket. Had nice crowds in them days. During the 30 years that I was here, we had nothing but top bands. From the Lombardos, Sammy Kaye came here from Case College on his graduation, brought his band here. They came here with patches on their pants. It was a Depression era, and Idora Park management took them to the tailor shop and had them all fitted out in new uniforms, and they played here for several seasons.
The co-owner and manager of Idora for over 40 years. He's gone now. He died shortly after the fire destroyed his life's love. He had worked there since he was 9, taking tickets on the roller coaster. Duffy had a lot of love for the park.
It's the way things are supposed to be, I guess. We tried. We opened up, and we probably shouldn't have this spring, but pride gets in the way of your mind sometime, and we felt we could overcome it, and we just couldn't do it.
Many pleasant memories here.
When did you start coming here?
Oh, about 25 years ago or so. I just love it. It's like going home.
Well, it's sad, but everything has its day, and what can you do?
We remember getting here, but don't know how we ever left here. Never seen this place out of order, but everybody always had fun.
Well, we sure are going to miss this place. This is one of the nicest dance halls in the state of Ohio. It's really a beautiful place. It's too bad.
We really had some great times here. We're sure going to miss Idora Park. We're going to miss it. At first it was twice a week, and we're going to miss it a lot. It's one of the nicest bars we've ever been to.
This is where I met you, isn't it? Huh? 55 years ago, wasn't it?
They fell in love here 55 years ago. This couple got married here 47 years ago. Tilly and Carmine Carino were married in October 1939 with a lavish reception at Idora for 600 people.
My reception was beautiful. They had us up on the stage. I mean, the bridal party was up on the stage, and they had all the guests scattered through the club rooms. It was very nice.
Not many people could rent the hall in 1939, but Tilly had relatives among the owners. The bridal party and guests ate, danced, and drank until the wee hours.
It reminds you of an old German beer garden. Everything was something similar to that. They had the tables, and they serve you beer in pitchers, and it was very, very, how would you say, the atmosphere was very comfortable and very nice.
With Tilly's husband gone now, those Idora memories are especially important to her.
It sort of seemed like you're losing a memory. It's something that they can't talk about anymore if they're going to close it.
I don't want to go home. I don't want to go home. I just want to sit tight, stay all night. I don't want to go home. There is nothing but gloom in my lonely old room. That's the reason you see I'm out on a spree. I don't want to go home.
Nobody wanted to go home. After 90 years, 1,000 dances, and 1,000,000 memories, it was down to the last song of the last dance.
But it's an end of an era. So tonight is a very bittersweet night. We're going to say a lot of goodbyes to people we may never see together in a group again.
The ballroom belongs to the Mount Calvary Pentecostal Church now, which plans to use the ballroom as part of its elaborate City of God complex envisioned for all of the Idora Park property.
We wish them all the best in the world. If anybody's to take over the ballroom, I guess the good Lord had a hand in that.
It's hard to say what the closing of a place like Idora does to a community. Certainly things have closed before. That's part of history. But you have the feeling looking around this ballroom that it's really part of history and part of our lives that we're not likely to see repeated. Jack Bowe, 33 Eyewitness News.